Barack Obama, former American president, once said, "There's no such thing as a vote that doesn't matter." All right, let's take our second quote, and this one is from Jens Stoltenberg. He is a politician serving as the 13th Secretary General of NATO since 2014. He once said, "By voting, we add our voices to the chorus that forms opinions and the basis for actions." All right, so we take our last quote, and this one is from George Jean Nathan. He was an American drama critic and magazine editor. He once said, "Bad officials are elected by good citizens who don't vote." All right, then let's see how all of this quotes relate to what we will be discussing today. Warm greetings and welcome to The Conversation. We're reaching you from KAFTAN's television studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Annabelle Oji. Now, at the moment, stakes are high as Nigeria and Nigerians prepare for the next big day. That's the 2023 general elections. With the 2023 general elections, state and federal elections looming over Nigerian politics, there are speculations that poor result could hurt democratic transition in the region, suffering a wave of upheavals. The Independent Electoral Commission (INEC) have set the date and timetable for the upcoming elections. The 2023 general elections will be held in large parts on 25th February and 11th March 2023. During this presidential election year, the president and the vice president will be elected on the 25th of February. Additionally, there will also be elections on the same day for the Senate and the House of Representatives. On March 11th, 2023, 28th gubernatorial election will be held alongside elections to State House of Assembly in all 36 states. And 2 additional gubernatorial elections will be held later in the year alongside potential rerun elections for regular scheduled election annulled from earlier in the year. So, our guest on the show today is Yabaji Yusuf Sani, popularly known as Jakadan Nupe, meaning ambassador of Nupe. Engineer Yabaji is the current national chairman, Action Democratic Party (ADP). He is a Nigerian politician, energy and crude oil expert. He was a presidential candidate in 2019 general election. He is also the national chairman of the Inter-Party Advisory Council (IPAC). We will be talking to him there in his office, that's at the Action Democratic Party office, later on the show. I will see you after this time out. Welcome back. If you just joined us, this is The Conversation. We're reaching you from KAFTAN's television here in the nation's capital, Abuja. If you've just joined us, you're right on time for the interview. Our guest is here. We're actually at his office. He is Engineer Yusuf Sani Yabaji. He is the national chairman, ADP. Thank you so much for having us in your office today.
Thank you very much for having me.
It is such a pleasure. All right, now let's start by scratching the surface. Before we started the program, we were actually talking about how you have a lot of people who have declared their intentions to run for the presidential elections, and then you just start to look at what exactly is the reason for this influx of contenders. We didn't have this much people contending during the 2015 or even the 2019 election. So what exactly is the reason for this surge?
Well, I think if you look at the history of particularly presidential elections in this country, it is, of course, the election that attracts the most attention in terms of the way people see presidential election as the election for every country.
Okay.
Because all others are, of course, very important, as spelled out in the Constitution. They have their own jurisdictions, but this is the office that governs, the entire country. Okay. Whatever happens there affects everybody. So I think that's what is one of the reasons why you see people, everybody springing up everywhere there that I want to be the president of this country. You talk about 2015. You said we didn't see the influx of people, like as we are witnessing now. If you look at the build-up to the 2015 election, there was a president at that point in time, isn't it? The party in power could not have fielded another candidate because once we have an incumbent, in an office, in a party, everybody assumes, of course, that the ticket will automatically be given to that person. So you couldn't have expected a lot of people to come from, PDP when Jonathan was in office and wanted to contest for the, a second term, to come out to declare at that point in time. And what you had in APC was also a situation that came about as a result of the margin, of political parties. So, and they merged in a way that there was no room, for the legacy parties themselves to now field another candidate. And the party, that's APC at that time, was coming with a particular, formula which they believe will give them the office. So they didn't want a situation where they will be factionalized, before they go into the battle, because they could see that the party in power that they are challenging, they have to be united, as an opposition party at that point in time. So that's why you didn't witness a lot of people coming out to say, I want to contest, to become the president of this country. In 2019, of course, people came out, I came out too, I contested, and simply because APC was a disappointment, even as by that time, 2019. People were looking for change, yearning for change. So that's why you had a lot of people also coming out that, okay, if this cannot, take us to the promised land, let's give other people an opportunity. But again, people were aware that you are fighting an incumbent government that, by our own way of doing things, and unfortunately, the kind of electoral law you had at that time is porous, is something that nobody could really, believe in, because there were a lot of loopholes that could be exploited, and they were exploited. But even at that, because of the poor performance of APC, people still, came out believing that Nigerians will vote, against, the party that was not performing. That was an anticlimax to them, because if you see, you remember how Buhari came to power, the kind of landslide victory and the promise, of, his performance, which was not there. So now coming to the 2023, after 2019. So you see so many flurry of people, a lot of people coming out that want to be, especially from the party in power, so many of them coming out, and also in the PDP.
The opposition party.
Yeah, because there's no power of incumbency that, would be used, to muzzle others and then rig the election in the favor of the government, in power. So people see this as an opportunity, like it's like an open field. Let me say, that that it's there for anybody that perhaps could attract, the attention and the votes of the electorate, that you could win, because the sitting president is not contesting anymore. So, and if you look at the kind of disorganization that is in that party itself, APC, then it gives people confidence that, yes, if these people are not organized, certainly, is there will be an opportunity
That's an
for
opportunity.
somebody to really take it,
Okay.
and then just like what happened to PDP themselves, because they were as disorganized, if not, in fact, this one is even more disorganized than PDP. And that's why APC was able to win, because there was no cohesion,
Okay.
within PDP when Buhari came to power.
Okay.
And for obvious reasons. So now that people are coming from, in spite of the fact that people say there's zoning, there's no zoning, there's rotation, all these things, people still believe that, given the lackluster performance of this government, that there's a chance for, if you can prove to Nigerians that I have what it takes in terms of the track record, in terms of the knowledge of what to do with power, and what is the need, what Nigerians needs now, and then what it takes to grow our economy so that we can really achieve that mandate of greatness, which is what Nigeria is all about, because we can't have all the resources we have without becoming a great superpower in terms, in the global economic setting. So that is lacking now, and the people can see the opportunity. The potentials are there. What is lacking and what is between us and that greatness, standing between us and that greatness, is leadership. And leadership in Nigeria, that we have people that can give. I'm here. Most people are there too, that I believe, given the opportunity, believe you me, they will turn things around for this country. You'll never believe that it's the same Nigeria.
All right. Now, you've said quite a lot of things, and we are going to dissect them one after the other in the next few minutes that we have. But now let's talk about your party, Action Democratic Party. What are your ideologies? What are the ideologies of the manifesto of your party?
Well, our party believes, first and foremost, supremacy of the party.
Okay.
Supremacy of the party. Because if the party is not given its due recognition, what you find, or what you will end up with, is this rowdy situation that you find. Because there has to be discipline, there has to be order, before you can have an organization functioning as an organization. So that is why, first and foremost, we believe in party supremacy.
Okay.
Number two, we believe that youth and women now should be democratically empowered so that they can also occupy the position of influencing decisions that will affect them, because they happen to be about 70% of the voting population. So if you, by our own arrangement in our constitution of ADP, we have created a room since the inception of ADP that 40% of the executive position of the party must be given to youth and women, minimum. So it could be 60%, there could be 70%. Of all the executive positions.
How about
can go to
vulnerable people?
Youth. Yeah, also people with disability.
Okay.
Also definitely we have. In fact, in our structure, we have then as a national leader, a chairman of the people living, vice chairman, and all down to the ward, to the polling unit. We have them like that, so that they can now, take their destiny into their hands and be part and parcel of what is happening. So we believe in that. We believe that there must be party supremacy, that there must be democratic empowerment of women, and we also believe that, that there should be discipline. Like I said, we believe that we have come of age as a country, that we must show leadership in all its ramifications, as a country. And we believe that the only vehicle that can be used to achieve that is a political party. So that's why when we came with the mantra of credible alternative, because we could see that what has been happening, there's no way it can provide that path to greatness, to practical empowerment of the people of this country, so that we can have peace. So our party philosophy is that Nigeria, must take its rightful place, because everything you require, we have it in this country.
All right.
And we believe that the sector, which produces about 90% of our revenue, I'm talking about foreign exchange earning, must not be left to on its own, without really, somebody taking charge of the situation. stamping out corruption, which has become endemic in that sector. I'm talking about oil and gas sector. You know, so we believe the economy of this country, oil and gas sector can be the center piece of our policies, because yes, we want to grow agriculture, isn't it? Which is a must, because if a country cannot feed itself, you know, you can't be independent, you know. So we also believe that there must be health, you know, effective health delivery, you know, facilities, you know, scheme. You know. We also believe that infrastructure development, you know, must be given its due attention so that the economy can grow, you know, at a faster rate than what is happening. We're underperforming, like everybody knows, you know. So if we can build our infrastructure, we can have an effective, you know, robust, you know, health delivery scheme, and we can have an education, you know, that is really giving that priority that all over the world, you know, is supposed to. It's supposed to attract more than 17% of the budget of the country. Yeah, education. So we believe that that's why the symbol of our party is the book, you know, in the right, you know, right hand holding a book, because we believe that education is it. You know, there's no way you can go wrong if you educate your people. You know, in fact, it is one of the fundamentals. You know, people. You know, if you don't, in fact, if you want to bring down, you know, a country, attack its educational system. You know.
All right. So, all right. So we keep hearing of third force or alternative to wrestle power from the two main political parties, PDP and APC. But then in terms of preparation, you just see that it is just these two big parties that we keep hearing of how, in terms of campaigns, primaries, of how much they are doing to even either hold power or retain or even come back again. But let's talk about your own party, ADP. How prepared are you to take or challenge the big two?
Well, you know, there's an old saying that an empty barrel makes, you know, the loudest noise.
Okay.
So what you are hearing is all noise making. And if you look critically into what is happening, believe you me, it's just a lot of motion without movement. Because what we are hearing today is all just about primaries. You know, how to bring out one person that will represent each party. That's what you are hearing about. All the noise you are hearing is just, by the time they finish their primaries, perhaps, you know, who knows whether that will be PDP or APC again to even be able to challenge parties like our party. That is, you know, something that you have to think about, because the kind of noise we are hearing and the desperation, you know, that you see in those that are coming, you know, asking for that, you know, office, to be given the office, is something that, you know, beats one's imagination, because and they have nothing to offer, because you can't give what you don't have. If at all you had it, you know, you should have given it, you know, 16 years of PDP. It was all, you know, a swindle of the country, was taken for granted. You know, we're in a situation where corruption became the order of the day. You know, so now you have APC. In fact, it's even worse. It's like from frying pan to fire. You know, because what does that tell you? If you look at the makeup of the APC today, over 75% of them are all PDP, you know, guys, you know. And when you also look at the PDP, people who are now saying they're PDP, some of them were in APC before, and then they now moved again back to APC. So Nigerians' time has come for us to wake up. You know, we can't be doing the same thing the same way and expect different results. That's another saying, you know, which is apt in our particular situation today. Especially the young people, the women, should wake up that all these monies that they are distributing, you know, it's your money that they stole. You know, this is the money that was given to them to grow our economy, to build, you know, infrastructure, schools, health facilities, and things like that. And they embezzled the money. If you ask one of them, where is the factory? Where is your factory or your company, where all of a sudden you are now a billionaire, you know, and you are talking about buying a farm with 100 million naira, just a farm, that you are buying, 100 million naira to contest. And you're not talking about the billions that the man is going to spend, campaigning or things like that. So Nigerians should begin to ask questions. How did you come by this money, for God's sake? It's our money. It's your money. So when they bring it, take it. But vote wisely. Let's have a paradigm shift now. Let's look at, a new, scenario. Like it has happened in most of the countries today that are making it. They had to vote against the status quo because the status quo does not represent the interest of the country. So our party, Action Democratic Party, we are working assiduously. 24/7 we are working. And we are going to really come up with something that Nigerians will be happy with. Not from noise making that will give you nothing like what you are going to have from APC and PDP. Because mark my words, what they're going to come up with, like PDP and APC, believe you me, it will be a disappointment to Nigerians.
But then some people would actually say that Nigeria is not ready for a third first, maybe some other elections, probably 2027. And then if you're even looking at it, the fact that your party was not able to pull or put up a strong resistance from any of these parties compared to other parties in previous elections. So how prepared is your party to hold on to power?
No, we did. Effectively, we came third in the presidential election, the last presidential election. We came third. If you go to INEC and check, you'll find that we are. So we are prepared, but we didn't come third by noise making and things like that. Like we are doing now. That's what we did in 2019. We are working underground, ensuring that yes, because that's what matters. It's not all this noise that you are hearing. Because end of the day, and the good thing again is that we are having a new electoral law that has provided for a free, fair, and peaceful, all-inclusive elections. So we are banking on the fact that INEC will rise to the occasion, and give Nigerians the election that Nigeria deserve. So our party, Action Democratic Party, believe you me, we have the solutions to the problems of this country because we know what the problems of this country are. We know what it is, and we know how to solve the problem. Let me tell you, Nigeria, believe you me, is one of the easiest countries that you can ever govern. Because yes, it's one of the easiest countries you can govern. An average Nigerian is not looking for too much. All he wants is for him to be able to, live peacefully, have something to do, job to do, that in the morning he wakes up, he goes to where he's working, he comes back in the evening, his children, the school is there, the facilities are there for health. And
for the average Nigerian, not for all Nigerians.
Well, all Nigerians really, because we have what it takes to cater for the 200 plus million Nigerians that we have in this country. I mean, if you know the amount of the wealth of this country that is being stolen by this government, believe you me, your heart will bleed, for this country. Because even the government from time to time, they normally come out, with some of these figures. Like the last time, the central bank governor, or who was it, telling us that about 89% or 80-something% of our revenue of the crude oil is being stolen. So can you imagine if you have a business, a shop where you are selling things, and over 80% of your products is being stolen? How can you ever break even? How can you even ever exist and survive as an ongoing concern? You can't. So that's what's happening to Nigeria. So now look at it the other way, that you can stop this whole scale stealing of your commonwealth, and then plow that back into the system. You can take care of the 200 plus million Nigerians. Okay. What do they want? To educate their children, to have something to eat. That's all. They're not looking for the billions that you are stealing, and you don't even know what they want to do with the billions that they are stealing. So this is a country that, believe you me, like I told you, is the most easiest, to govern. You have all it takes. You have a young population of Nigerians, that are educated and are waiting to be engaged. You have a very large, span of land. We don't suffer from these natural disasters. So, and you have big population, of over 200 million, like I said. our economy is the biggest on the continent of Africa. And that is even as we are underperforming, as we are still, our people put in charge are stealing everything. But even at that, the economy is still, the biggest, and if you look at our GDP compared to other countries, in the country of Africa. So I believe that if ADP is given the opportunity to run the affairs of this country, I'm telling you, the first 100 days, you will not believe that it's the same country that we are talking about. Because the money is there, today as we speak.
Okay.
As we speak today, only God knows how much has been stolen from this country. Officially, official corruption I'm talking about. Don't mind they're telling you that there is artisan refinery or something like that. What the officials of NNPC are stealing, every day, believe me, this is a chicken feed, what we are talking about, the crude oil they're talking about. Because we don't even know how much we are producing.
Right.
We don't even know how much revenue we are making from this oil. And this is supposed to be the sector that has so much engagement with other sectors of the economy. Because even domestic economy of Nigeria is run by oil and gas, because agriculture, education, all of them, they have these backward and forward linkages with the oil and gas sector. So that is not a sector to joke with. As a president, if you make it, or even if you make it that as your number one, priority, and you superintend over it properly, not like what we are having today, that the president is the minister of the petroleum resources, but there is nothing to write home about the effect of the president superintending over that sector. In fact, some people are even saying that the president has made it, so difficult for people to even have the transparency, accountability, and what have you, to investigate, that sector of the economy. Because how do you investigate the president?
All right, we'll definitely come back to that later on the show. Now let's talk about feelers. Since you talked about what people are saying, feelers from the streets, with what we're getting is that some parties, in fact, a lot of parties, including your own party, you don't get to see them for a very long time, until after every 4 years, when there's a transition or when there's another election to be held. So what exactly is the reason why you don't see most of these parties until there's another election after 4 years or after 8 years?
No, I don't think it's true of our party, because we are always there. We are being engaged. We are building our party. Since the last election. We are crisscrossing the country. We hold meetings. And I think what happens is that Nigerians don't give attention to parties until when elections are coming. I think that's the case. It's not that parties are not working. I know our party. We've been working since the last elections. Preparing for this 2023 election, so win. So I think the only thing is that you hear much about PDP, APC because they have people in government. So when the PDP governor in one state, does something, they say, PDP, this and that, and what have you. That's the reason why you don't hear much about the other parties. It's not that we are not working. We are working.
All right, so we're actually due for a break. So let's, before we go on that break, now you've seen that over time, unpopular or smaller parties have tried to form a merger to withstand the bigger parties, or kick them right at the butt. So for some reasons, they've not been able to do it. For some of them, they say it's because of the financial reason or for whatever reason. So for your own party, are you open to coalition or merger or some kind of fusion in the future?
You see, even in business, where you can go private if you like, there's no dominance anymore. It's collaboration. You have to collaborate. Even in business, how much more of something that has to do with the people of the country, that you must come together to see how you can grow, the economy, and then ensure that you have a government that is representative of everybody, in the country. So as far as ADP is concerned, we are open to alliances.
So wouldn't it affect any of your aspirants?
No,
if probably they have different ideology.
No. The one ideology we have is how do we grow the economy of this country? Because if you can grow the economy of this country, believe you me, 99% of our problems will be solved. Because as a developing country, our biggest, problem, challenge is poverty. How do you ensure that you have full employment for people? That you don't have a situation where inflation is at this, a very dangerous, level, and it's increasing more than 17% if care is not taken. In fact, when you talk about food inflation, maybe you are pushing 20% already, even more. So, so I think, and then you look at our GDP too. I mean, we can't be growing at 2% or something like that. An economy like Nigeria, we should be growing at the rate of, if not 10%.
Okay.
Yeah, right. So I believe that alliances should come, and the alliances is that, okay, you have your party, you come together. If you like to run, maybe because the mergers and even like you mentioned, is difficult under a presidential system. It's only in parliamentary system where parties can come together to now have a government. Because by the time you are doing the alliances, people are being elected already. They're in office, isn't it? So they can easily come together to say, okay, we since you need the majority in the House, we collaborate with you so you can form the government. But in our system that we are practicing today, it's a presidential system which only recognizes, the chief executive,
Okay.
and for the general elections, not from the House, like you have National Assembly, So, like sometimes if in National Assembly you don't have majority, you now have to collaborate with other parties, smaller parties, and then you can now have the principal officers, and then you share the power.
Okay.
So that's why when you hear of alliances, mergers in this setting, it doesn't work because it cannot work. It's not intended, to have that kind of alliance as
All right.
it were when you have parliamentary system.
All right. All right, let's go on this quick break, and when we return, we'll expand this conversation a little bit further. I will see you shortly.
And
Welcome back. If you've just joined us, this is The Conversation. If you're reaching you from KAFTAN's television here in the nation's capital, Abuja, you just joined us, you've missed quite a lot because we've been talking about a lot of things. We're still talking to Engineer Sani Yabaji. He is the national chairman of Action Democratic Party, ADP. All right, so before we went on that break, we said quite a lot of things. But now let's talk about the political parties and the primaries, because we know that from May 2022, from this May already, a lot of political parties will begin the process of political leadership recruitment for all political position across the country. So now let's talk about your own party, ADP. What should Nigerians be looking out for in terms of the crop of politicians that will be brought forth to after the primaries, and then what? That's one on the side. I'm going to ask you two questions, and I'd like you to take them in one breath. That's one on the side, the crop of politicians that they should expect. And then the second is, what mode of primaries are you looking towards adopting?
Well, thank you very much. I think Nigerians should expect champions from ADP, because what this economy requires is a champion, somebody that will be there to really lead from the front, who will have hands-on on how this economy should be managed, not sitting in the villa and expecting people to. I understand that, yes, as a president, you're supposed to lead. You're not supposed to manage. You're supposed to identify those individuals that have the prerequisite knowledge and track record so that they can now manage the economy, effectively, and while you lead. But in an economy like Nigeria, you need to be hands-on, somebody that can engage effectively with Nigerians. That's what we're going to give Nigerians, ADP. That's what will come from ADP. Definitely, we know that for sure. And we are also giving Nigeria leadership that has empathy, that will feel your pains, will be able to, really give Nigerians sense of belonging. What I mean by sense of belonging is that there will be nothing like nepotism, because what runs down a country is when a section of the country feels that they are not taken along, carried along in the scheme of things, that they have been regarded as second to play, pushed to play second fiddle in the scheme of things. Our administration, believe you me, will be a Nigerian administration that will address the problems of Nigeria effectively, that will ensure that these vicious cycle that we are in terms of insecurity, in terms of retrogression of the economy, restiveness, what have you, believe me, will be a thing of past, because we have what it takes in this country. This country is a promise of greatness. If you look at everything about Nigeria, is it in terms of population? Like I said, young population with such huge natural endowment, that is everywhere, or is it the good weather, or is it the fact? Is even the position of Nigeria on the equator is an advantage. It's something that we can market, and be able to make it the destination for investors, and then for other countries to come to. Because when you say Africa, that is Nigeria, by all standards, by all measure, whatever you want to look at. Why is it Nigeria? And then plus we know the next frontier, for economic development globally is Africa. And if it's Africa, and today Africa is contributing less than 3% of the world GDP. So and here you are with a dynamic young population with resources. We don't have to go and beg somebody, for the natural resources, to produce, and then manufacture things, Like look at our country, for instance. The only product that we have comparative advantage, in terms of export, which is crude oil and gas. But look at what we do. We export jobs out of this country, to other already strong, economies. Like we export our crude oil instead of refining it, in the country, and then sell the refined products. You can even ensure that you find at least 70% of what you are producing. China, America, America has the largest, crude oil deposit, but they don't export crude oil. At best, you find refineries all over the place in America. They are selling refined products because one refinery will employ thousands of skilled labor, not even unskilled labor. So can you imagine if the 4 refineries in this country are working? We don't have a situation where you have officials who have deliberately killed these refineries for the reasons of taking advantage of the economy. Because, like according to the law, about 440,000 barrels of crude oil produced every day in this country is allocated for domestic, refining. And because the refineries are not working, the officials of NNPC will now sell this crude oil, to their lackeys and their cronies. And then they again not only stop at that, at selling the crude oil, they go again and then buy refined products and earn commission for their pockets, and then milk you and tell you that the price of crude oil, price of petrol at the pump is so high because they have to import. They don't have to import. These are the things that we need to correct in this country, because it's so obvious that we are being taken for a ride, and we know what is happening. We know they tell you about $3 billion of crude oil is being stolen every day, which is official figure. The unofficial figure is 3 times, if not 5 times that is being stolen. Who is this thief? Who has ever been brought, before the court that this person has stolen our crude oil and in the quantum that we hear, So it is the government that is stealing our crude oil, and Nigerians should ask, the questions. Who is the thief? We want to know. How can
so your party is bringing the Messiah to.
We will definitely.
Who has the magical wand?
We know. Myself in particular, I have worked for NAITI, I have worked for Ministry of Finance, I have worked for NNPC, and all this work I did, is like as a consultant. I worked for NNPC before, before I resigned and set up my own company. So I was engaged by NAITI to study the metro infrastructure, in this country, so that we will be able to know, whether the meters themselves are even working. And we came up with our results. It's there. The study, the outcome of the study is there, that we don't have reliable meters. The metering infrastructure is substandard. In some cases, we don't even have meters. They are produced and nobody knows how much they are producing, and they just tell NNPC that we are producing so much. This is a country where you don't even have a policy as to where to measure your production. So it's like a roller coaster where we land is anyone's guess. So we can't. We as ADP government will never allow that kind of thing to continue, because I have seen it. I have studied it. It's not that somebody will tell me that this is the problem. I know where the problem is. I know where they're stealing our crude oil, and I know how to stop it. And I know if you can stop that thievery that is going on in the oil and gas sector, believe you me, you will save this country a whole lot. Because whether we want to believe it or not, people say don't talk about oil. It's a curse. It's not a curse. We are the one that are the cursed, people that allow officials to steal, openly without anybody challenging them. Okay. So you see, that's why I'm telling you that Nigeria is the easiest country that you can govern in terms of growing its economy. And once you can grow the economy, believe me, peace will come, because unity will come. Because individuals will now find something to do. They will have no reason to say, I want to go out of Nigeria because it's not, serving me, my needs are not being attended to. So we know that the government of ADP will be a government of full employment.
Okay.
So for Nigeria.
What mode of primaries are you?
The mode of primaries that we are looking at is consensus, by and large. Reasons are that the law allows it, and reasons are that when you do consensus, it is more uniting. It unites the party more. You don't end up with litigations and what have you. At the end of the day, care is not taken. It takes away the energy, the time that you will have spent in the general elections itself to win the election. So we are focusing on consensus, more than any other thing.
Okay, so I hear you talk about where you said a lot of people are aggrieved. They feel marginalized, that they're not being let to come in the scheme of things. Now, with this calls for zoning or rotation or power shift, you have people talking about it should be turned. It is the turn of the southern people, and then some people say no, it is the turn of the northern region. So, what are your thoughts on this calls for zoning or power rotation? And is your party considering rotation?
Well, our party, we believe in equity and fairness. Number one, because where there's no equity, fairness, and justice, there cannot be peace. We also believe very strongly that you need somebody who can really deliver, who has the knowledge, track record, skills, who can think out of the box. Because this 21st century economy that we have, which today is in tatters, requires people that can really give it that great leap forward, so that Nigerians can begin to experience good life, which is the promise of this country. Because you can't have these fabulous resources and then you still be in abject poverty the way we are. So we believe that if we can have a government that, like what I've said, that is all-encompassing, that all-inclusive, that does not look at you as somebody who is from a different tribe or different religion, or because you're a woman, or you are not this and that, but looks at you from the merit point of view, that can you really deliver? There are some countries that don't even they even take foreigners to come and solve the problems for them. Because if you can solve the problems for us, that is what government is all about. Government is not about saying that, the man that should be minister should be my brother, my sister, or should be wearing this kind of dresses or be practicing this kind of faith. So zoning and the rotation, as far as our party is concerned, is not our priority. What is our priority is how do we ensure that there's justice so that peace can reign in the country. And anywhere you look at in this country, you can look at the southeast, southwest, south-south, northeast, north central, northwest. You will find somebody who can really deliver. And now it's up to you to now say, okay, how do you now dovetail it with the issue of justice and fairness, in the political arena? That is something that parties can easily, solve when there's, sincerity of purpose. You can come together and say, okay, we think it should be this way, for obvious reasons. So we don't want to overheat the polity by saying, no, it's the turn of the southeast, southwest. No. Let's come together as a political party. because the political party is made of Nigerians, isn't it? From various parts of the country. You sit down, and then decide that this is what we think should be done, for Nigeria, to grow so that we can catch up, and even surpass our peers.
All
when you look at countries like Singapore, Malaysia, even South Korea, and what have you. Nigeria has much more than potential, more potential than those countries. Opportunities are there that we can grow and become a developed economy, not a developing economy. It embarrasses one when you say when we're still being described as a developing economy. Look at what is happening in other countries, for God's sake. Look at our oil and gas. And look at how, you see, the bane of our problem is the way we've been taken for a ride by the officials that we have in government, and nobody's doing anything about it. Look at the piece of legislation that they call PIA that was passed recently. That was the biggest swindle that you can ever think of, of Nigeria, of the century. You know why I'm saying so? They told us that, when we pass this bill, there will be investments coming to grow our oil and gas sector. Reverse is the case. These oil companies are leaving. They are selling their assets. They are leaving the country. They told us that when they now do when the PIA is passed, there will be strong regulatory agencies and things like that. How did the foul fuel that came to the country, how did it come through? It was still this regulatory agencies put by this PIA. They told us that they are going to have transparency, accountability, and what have you. And stealing is more endemic than it used to be. It was after PIA that somebody came from the central bank or wherever it is that said that 80% of the crude oil in this country is being stolen. So to tell you that law, believe you me, is meant to do this country in, then hitherto. Because why? How could it be that everything that was not happening before now is happening and is negative one?
All right then. So now let's talk about the bringing people together, women, the youth, and then the people living with disabilities. Now, during the NEC meeting when you were elected as the national chairman of IPAC, you actually made a comment. I'm going to quote it. You said that to enhance more robust participation of women, youth, persons with disability should be the vanguard of all pro-democracy platforms. Now, if we keep advocating for bringing women, the youth, and people living with disabilities, and then yet you have political parties, their nomination forms or expression of interest forms are this expensive, which makes it so uneasy for people to come in, making it look like more like the elitist kind of group, or like auctioning, the winner takes it all and all of that. So how can we then bring these people together who don't have this much money to spend? Because we keep advocating against money politics in Nigeria. Now, I know that you are the national chairman of ADP and then also the national chairman of the Party Advisory Council. So what kind of meetings, when you talk about, do you also discuss these matters, how it affects? Because your body, IPAC, is actually the body that, the umbrella body for all political parties. So what are your thoughts on this? How do you then solve this quagmire?
Yeah, well, Annabelle, isn't it? It's like a catch-22 that we are in terms of money politics. You see, and it's unfortunate that this is one of the countries where government, for one reason or the other, is not funding political activities of political parties. It used to be that government used to fund the parties, the activities of the parties. But here you are today, government is not funding, members are not paying their dues. In fact, the reverse is the case. You have to, in most cases, you have to give your members money before they even take your membership cards, and then what have you. Like you witnessed, you remember what happened when APC or PDP were saying they are launching their online, registration. They were giving people money to go and register with their party. So now, the issue is that, okay, and you are talking about elections. There's nowhere in the world where elections are cheap, because why? You have to move from one place to the other. Logistics, printing of posters, embarking on campaigns, holding rallies and things like that.
But they're not as expensive as what we have here in Nigeria. Like the last I checked for Ghana, it's about $2,000.
Yes, to do what?
For the forms.
Yeah, $2,000 for the forms. But the point is that when you look at the population of Ghana and Nigeria, the size of the economy of Ghana and Nigeria, Ghana economy, I don't know whether it's bigger than that of Lagos, what have you, the economy of Lagos or something like that. So if you compare Ghana with Nigeria, you'll be comparing oranges and apples. It doesn't match. So the reality of this country is that if you want to run for president of this country, and you know that you have to go from Calabar to maybe Maiduguri or from Lagos and all this, and then crisscross to meet the electorate so that they know who you are and you know who they are. It costs a lot of money, to be sincere. So in IPAC, we are really at pains as to how we can address this issue. We wish that government will take a second look at funding political parties in a way that these pressure or burden that is being transferred to those who want to contest would be lessened, because it's a reality that if you want to contest, you have to move from one place to the other. You have to, like I say, print posters, and look at what is happening to the economy. Look at even the cost of fuel that you are going to buy today. Look at the cost of food. Look at transportation costs itself. Look at everything. Printing materials. What you pay today. In 2019, what you are paying today is maybe 20 times what you paid in about 7 years ago or something like that, if not more. So when you hear this big money, you say, why are they charging 100 million, 50 million, what have you? I'm not justifying it, but what I'm saying is that maybe National Assembly or government should take a second look at this and say, okay, how do we lessen the burden on the people of Nigeria? And then, because even America, they funds, elections, a percentage. Once, you have spent, they say, okay, we make some returns to you. So this is why I say it's catch-22. Here you are, you want to make democracy to be as less costly as possible. But here you are with necessary, costs that you must, bear. And then you don't have anybody who is bringing the money. So the parties are left with, okay, you want to be governor, you want to be president, how do we run the campaign? Do you have a way by which we can run the campaign? And maybe they would have sat down and say, okay, we estimate that if you come, give us this money, perhaps we can move around, we can advertise on television. Television is, like is quite a lot of money that you spend on adverts, on commercial or things like that. So it's not cheap at all. Even in America, they spend billions, on commercial and then moving around and things like that. So that's why I laugh sometimes when people say, oh, the political parties are charging too much money and all these things. It's the situation we find ourselves.
All right. Now, very quickly, even as our time is fast spent, I have two questions that I'll ask in one, and I'd like you to unpack them in one breath. Now, you were a presidential aspirant in 2019.
That's right.
So what exactly happened? Did you actually decide to drop that ambition and not go forward to it? Or are we expecting to see you declare your intentions anytime soon? That's one on the side. And then I've seen and heard you talk about the electoral law or the electoral bill, how much it will be, that saving grace so as to ameliorate all that we went through during previous elections. So now that we have the electoral laws, how much will it actually affect or change anything at all?
Well, to change things dramatically. You know why? Elections are rigged predominantly from 2 points. One point is where you accredit people, accreditation. If you can ensure that people are not accredited twice, that they don't vote more than once, then you would have checked the rigging, tremendously, by a huge percentage. Then where collation takes place, where the votes from the polling units are put together and then people are declared as the winner of that election. That's where rigging takes place, because you may have won there. By the time the results from the polling units get to the collection center, by the time they add it together, instead of 2,000, they will now say it's maybe 200,000 that you have won. So, but all that with this electoral law, what you have today, this is eliminated because they have these beavers that not only would take your thumbprint or something like that, but take your face too, and then ensure that you are the person and you don't come more than once. You are allowed to vote, more than once. So that has taken care of, to a very large extent, that voting, the rigging point. Another one, the collation. Collation now is done automatically. As you vote, and it's counted, it is transmitted electronically, automatically, electronically to the collation center. And the collation is done electronically too. So there's no human interface there. But the problem now is the polling unit itself.
Okay.
Those people that before were concentrating on the accreditation, number of people that are allowed to vote and collation, all of them now will come, the pressure will now be on the polling unit.
Okay.
So, but again, it means that, they cannot, rig as much as they used to do before because these loopholes have been blocked to a very large extent. So that's why we have confidence that to a very large extent we will have an acceptable, election in this country. Yes.
Okay. So how about, very quickly, how about your ambition to become the president? Have you dropped it, or you'll be declaring anytime soon?
As a politician, definitely your aspiration is to have an opportunity to contribute, immensely to the development of a country at the highest level that you can ever reach, so that you can give your best, to the country. So that is there inborn in every politician. That's why you see, a while ago we were saying that why do we have so many people coming wanting to contest? It's because there's that, passion. There's that, determination and the conviction, sense of conviction that I have something that I can contribute. And I'm not an exception, really.
All right, thank you so much. The one question keep coming to my mind because you're a stakeholder in that sector. Let's talking about the issue of oil theft.
Yes.
Talking about the issue of vandalism. We've seen a recent report of vandalism where the federal government raised the alarm that over $3.27 billion was lost to oil theft. And this has been a long time coming. It's not yesterday we started talking about oil theft or bunkering. So what are your thoughts on this? And then recently we saw that report, very heart-wrenching report where a lot of people died in Imo State with regards to illegal refineries. And then we remembered when the Rivers State Governor, Yusuf, was talking about bringing down all of these illegal refineries. So what are your thoughts on this? How can we completely eradicate this menace? Very quickly.
Well, you see, it is the problem of the government. They are aware, they know what to do. They refuse to do what they're supposed to do, because all of them are in cahoots, in this business of stealing crude oil that you are talking about. Otherwise, if you have working meters in the downstream, in the upstream sector of the crude oil and gas, meaning that what is coming out from the oil wellheads are properly metered, and then you also ensure that you are able to measure production at a particular point. Today, what happens is that nobody is accountable for anything until when it gets to the terminal where it is pumped into the ship, a vessel that will take the crude oil out. So what happens between the wellheads, where the oil is coming out, until the terminals, thousands of kilometers away, nobody's accountable. Anything can happen to it. The cost is borne by the government. So, and the government is nobody, isn't it, in this country, unfortunately. So this is why what is happening, because had it been the policy that is working in other countries, where if you are a producer, anything that is lost is to your account, you see. So ownership is not declared until at the terminal, which is wrong, and they know it is wrong.
Okay.
So I mean, if people tell you, those who are producing oil, they tell you, well, I'm not here to fight any war. If government cannot fight it, so put a policy in place that says that royalties will be calculated, not net back system, where they said, okay, if I ship 100,000 barrels out, I will put 0.00%, and that will 0.0% plus the 100,000 barrels, that now becomes your production. Why not put meters there? Why not ensure that you measure what is produced so that you will now charge royalties on what is... If producers are charged royalties as per production, you won't see stealing as at the level is happening today.
All right, thank you
So
so
government
much.
knows what to do.
Thank you so much for your time with us. It's been a very wonderful time talking to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having us here.
Thank you.
All right, we have been chatting with Engineer Yabaji Sani. He is the National Chairman of Action Democratic Party. He's also the National Chairman of IPAC, and he is he's usually called the Jakadan of Nupe, which is the ambassador of Nupe. It's been a wonderful time here on The Conversation. I'm sure that you must have been rightly entertained, informed, and educated. Keep watching The Conversation because you never know who my next guest will be. I will see you next time. From the nation's capital, Abuja, I am Annabelle Oji. God bless Nigeria.